Welcome to A Moment of Zen. Time to sit back and relax as model, actress, mentor, and supermom Zen Sams takes you on a sexy and wild ride, covering the latest in film, fashion, pop culture, cryptocurrency, fintech, cannabis, and entertainment from the millennial mom's perspective. Here's your host, Zen Sams.
Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. Welcome to our 136th episode. It's always such a pleasure to spend my time with you on the airwaves. Thank you for listening and interacting with me on social media. That truly does make it all worthwhile. Please make sure to follow me at Zen Sams. That's Zen with an X, not a Z. Also remember that we're live on Traverse TV Sundays at 1 p.m. Eastern. And of course, all episodes of A Moment of Zen stream 24/7 on Kathy Ireland's Your Home TV. And you can always find us, of course, on our YouTube channel at Zen Sams. In our Hydration with Heart segment brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut, today we're featuring Liv Schreiber, founder and CEO of Hot and Social Events and brand Caffeine, which is a fashion blog tech company that creates unforgettable content to build fashion brands. Today, she joins me in studio right here at iHeart headquarters in Midtown Manhattan to chat Once Upon a Coconut, hydration, family, and heritage. And how is it that her events sell out in 36 seconds? In our Going Deep segment, we're featuring Dr. Calobrace, an internationally recognized leader in aesthetic breast surgery. He began the Beauty Through Science New York conference back in 2022, bringing together the world's greatest educators in surgical and non-surgical aesthetic medicine, setting a new standard in education. Today, he's joined by Dr. Kamakshi Zeidler, board-certified plastic surgeon, founder of Aesthetx, the premier plastic surgery and dermatology practice in Silicon Valley. Today, they join me to chat plastic surgery, breast reconstruction, the latest techniques and trends, and we're going to get their opinion on fat transfers. In America's Favorite Pharmacist segment, brought to you by Mary Ruth Organics, we're featuring Phil Cowley, a dear friend of the show. Phil is an influencer and a pharmacist. He goes by the handle Phil's My Pharmacist with over 1.9 million followers. He joins me today sharing his thoughts on Ozempic and Mounjaro manufacturers testing weight loss shots for kids as young as 6 years old who suffer from obesity. I say it's impossible to know the long-term risks, but we'll get his opinion this hour. In our Millennial Mom segment brought to you by OGPay.com, we're featuring the awesome Lisa Harris, founder of OWL. That's Organize with Lisa. She joins me today to chat tips and tricks for converting a child's play area from toddler to tween. Stay tuned for our Hydration with Heart segment brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut, featuring the awesome Liv Schreiber, founder and CEO of Hot and Social Events right here at iHeart headquarters. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut, 100% pure coconut water. Imagine a drink that's nutrient-rich, powerfully refreshing, naturally sweet with no added sugars, not from concentrate, zero additives, low in calories, absolutely no artificial flavors, and is so tasty that it will become your new favorite beverage. Enter Once Upon a Coconut, the absolute best tasting coconut water you will ever try. Available in 4 refreshing flavors: pure, chocolate, pineapple, and sparkling with energy. Do your taste buds a favor and pick up some today at onceuponacoconut.com.
Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Up next in our Hydration with Heart segment brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut, today we're featuring the awesome Liv Schreiber, founder and CEO of Hot and Social Events and brand Caffeine, a fashion blog tech company that creates unforgettable content to build fashion brands. The company boasts the brands by improving and conceptualizing their digital presence, content, and paid ads all under one roof. She's a modern-day Renaissance girl. Her heart is with over 200,000 people that she connects daily with on social. She created a waitlisted event company called Hot and Social, bringing me to full circle, in which 99% of attendees in New York City, Miami, and LA arrive solo and 100% leave as friends. Pretty incredible concept. She's been mentioned as an authentic, trustworthy, influential NYC girl's girl by InStyle, Brides.com, Forbes, New York Times. That's just to name a few. She's everywhere. She's the co-founder of brand Caffeine. Now, her best friend is her 87-year-old grandfather, Grandpa Lyle,
who her followers love, and I can't blame them. Today, she joins me in studio to chat Once Upon a Coconut, hydration, family, and heritage. Welcoming now to the show is the beautiful and the amazing Liv Schreiber. Welcome to the show, superstar.
Zen, that was the nicest intro I've ever heard. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, you are one of the most accomplished individuals I have come across. When I read your bio, I'm thinking, wow, where did this girl come from? She is not only beautiful and inspirational, but she's educated and you're full of passion. And I could see it in the work that you do. So let's chat personal journey and philosophy. So your quote, which is, "Nothing I can sell or make a commission on is better than a relationship or memory." This reflects a profound perspective, my dear. Can you share a significant memory or relationship that had a profound impact on your life or career?
Absolutely. The first one I can think of is a mentor of mine, Jesse Itzler. I had slid into his DMs asking to work for him, and I realized that it wasn't working out when I was around 20 years old, and I had to do it a different way. So I began just wishing him to have a great day. I would send him messages on Instagram almost every day. Have a great day. You rock. Keep it up, keep crushing it, and eventually got my start, really the start of my career with Sarah and Jesse Itzler as their stylist and then digital consultant, just by being kind.
And manifesting and having a roadmap and a vision, and not kind is at the tip of the iceberg. That's the bare minimum, I say, as human beings we all need to be. But you went above and beyond and you roadmapped a vision for yourself with the end result to get into that inner circle, and you did. Kudos to you. Now, Hot and Social events. You created Hot and Social to bring your followers together, and it's been tremendously successful from what I'm hearing. What inspired this idea, and what do you believe makes your events stand out?
So I started on Instagram as an accidental influencer. I actually used to be in real estate, and I was so miserable. I was posting uplifting quotes under the table just to make my work days better, and eventually grew a following, and people were asking me, "Liv, you're in your 20s. How do you make these friends?" And I wasn't just going to say, "Oh, by sliding in their DMs or by giving a compliment on the street." I needed an actual haven to send people, but it wasn't a specific bar and it wasn't a specific workout. So one of my girlfriends said, "Liv, you should throw a party." I was the designated driver in high school. Like, I am not the type of girl to throw a rager. And I said no one would come. But I threw one anyway. She said, "Just give it a go." And the premise was that everyone comes solo, because when you arrive solo, you're more open to making new friends and meeting new people and having those connections. When you're with a clique, like, in so many bars in New York City, people go together. So it's way harder to actually meet authentically and in a warm environment. So I started Hot and Social by accident, just kind of wanted people to have a warm experience.
And there you did that quite effectively, and hosting events is at the heart of it all. So hosting events where attendees arrive solo and leave as friends is quite a feat. How do you foster such a strong sense of community and connection within the events that you create?
That's very kind. I think it's just about the people. And you're able to curate an audience on social media by posting about your true values, right? The heart of what I do is being authentic, and the heart of what I do is being open to meeting people, no matter what my age is or what your age is. Understanding that the capacity for growth is never ending, just like my 87-year-old grandpa meets friends every week. So encouraging an open mind is really what has enabled me to build an audience that also is like-minded, so that when we get together in real life, the energy is just magnetic.
And it's all about having that charisma, right? Having that it factor and being able to affect a room in such a positive way where people just want to talk to you and be your friend because you have that energy and that aura that's just radiating, and that's at the core of who you are. So congratulations for being you. Now, influence and authenticity, being mentioned as an authentic, trustworthy, influential NYC girl's girl in various media outlets is a significant achievement. How do you maintain authenticity while navigating the influencer and social media world, which is extremely aesthetically charged, if you will?
Great way to describe it. I think you have to feel your body in different settings. Like, for me or for you, you may feel tightness in your chest, or your throat may feel a little bit tight when you feel like you're in an environment where so the energy's off, right? I feel like by listening to yourself, it's like practicing a sport. You understand who makes you feel good and the type of people you want to be around. So we all get to make that choice every single day of evaluating our lives and who we're letting in, friends or the family we choose for ourselves. So, you just have to be aware at all times of, am I giving off good vibes and am I illuminating a room, and are other people? And then from there, you pick and choose.
And brand Caffeine, let's segue to that, and entrepreneurship. So let's talk about, as the co-founder of brand Caffeine, with your twin brother, to my understanding, you can describe the journey of building this agency and your roles probably with your eyes closed. But in running social strategy for clients, including celebrities, innovative startups, what's the key principle you focus on, and what is the protocol you stick to?
So what I love about branding other people and doing content for them is everyone's an influencer in their own right. Even if you're an 85-year-old guy or a 45-year-old woman or a mom or a broker or, a singer, you all have those key things that people love you for. So gone are the days of boring content. It's so cool to emphasize that you're a broker who can do yoga, and let's have you do a headstand while talking about your next listing. Or if you're a mom that wants to make content, tell us your story. Tell us about how, you had that pivotal moment in college that changed your life. People want to hear more relatable things about professionals in order to better connect to them.
And when you say that, I'm going to segue to the perfect next question, connecting with the audience. Brands have to be at the forefront of understanding how to connect with their core audience. Why do you think Once Upon a Coconut brand has taken off as quickly and successfully as it has? And why are all these VIPs and celebrities like yourself major endorsers?
Okay, first of all, have you tried the chocolate flavor?
Yes, I love it. It tastes like a Yoo-hoo, but a healthier version of it.
It's so it's the craziest thing I've ever seen. So I actually was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease, rheumatoid arthritis, a year ago, and I'm like super healthy. I never would think, it's like, it's nuts. And so I've turned to coconut water because it's actually the most incredible hydration multiplier to seriously exist on the planet. Not only that, but the packaging of Once Upon a Coconut is really cute and aesthetically pleasing in my fridge at my events. And I just absolutely love the brand and how they give back to other people, other charities, other organizations. They do what they say they're going to do. They, they walk the talk, they talk the walk. I just think they're absolutely incredible.
I echo your sentiment. And as a mom, I love coconut water because it's truly proprietary in its health benefits. Potassium, calcium, and magnesium, these are all electrolytes. They play important roles in helping maintain heart health, liver and kidney health, digestive functions, healthy blood sugar levels, muscle and nerve functions, and just so much more. I specifically started drinking it after my radiation while I was battling thyroid disease, but I typically use it as a cure-all for even hangovers. Now, let's segue a little bit to Grandpa Lyle. So your followers love your 87-year-old grandfather, Grandpa Lyle. Can you share an endearing story that involved him and your online community?
Oh, yes. And I'm actually wearing my other grandpa's watch right now. So this is making my whole day. Yes. So Kendall Jenner sent a bottle of 818 to Grandpa Lyle. And we took a video of Grandpa Lyle being like, who sent me this? Kendall Jenner. And Grandpa Lyle's so up on connecting with me and my audience because as a grandparent, he's always said, and this is great advice, to always just be interested in what your grandkids are interested in. So he's always filling me in on pop culture. He's listening to your shows and
Grandpa, big shout out to Grandpa Lyle.
Shout out Grandpa Lyle. So it's always been incredible to get to connect with him every single day because I learn about World War II history, which he loves, and he learns about, gossip and pop culture and drama. So he goes, Kendall Jenner sent me this 818. That's crazy. We took a video, we posted it. I didn't think anything of it. I just thought it was cute. And the Kardashians all reposted him with 818.
Fantastic. Look at that. Grandpa went viral.
He did.
I love it. Well, this is the stuff you can't make up. And this is why you do what you do. Because if you could do it authentically for Grandpa, you could do it for a brand, right?
Yes.
And that's
people
the
feel
idea. Yeah. So let's talk about future endeavors. So what are your upcoming projects or goals in the realms of social media or event organization or influencer marketing that you can share with us and talk to us and get us excited about?
Absolutely. I'm super excited. We had our first ever sleepaway social, camp social, with over 200 women this past summer. We took out 200 women who didn't know a single soul. Everyone came solo. We put them on buses and drove them out to Pennsylvania, where we had a 3-day sleepaway camp for women in their 20s and 30s. It was insane. And
That's so unique and safe. It feels like you're vetting out and putting people of like-mindedness together.
it's incredible, right? Because it's first come, first serve for the tickets. So, if you really want to come to an event, you have to beat everyone else to come to the event. So it's a very democratic system. And that way we know that people who are coming are really passionate about meeting other like-minded people. You know what I mean? So we're doing another camp social this upcoming summer. Oh my gosh, it's only October, but I'm really excited to be planning it, and other retreats where we can bring like-minded, excited people together.
You are so unique. All the stuff that you do is so proprietary with your own spin on it. You're very, very good at what you do because you're thinking like 4 steps ahead. You have a great roadmap and a company that is supported by a whole bunch of loving women who want to get together and just keep it multiplying, which I love it. It's like the butterfly effect. You and Emily Hayden should definitely meet. So advice for aspiring influencers. Now, for those looking to enter the world of influencer marketing, what advice would you offer to help them build authentic connections and memorable relationships with their followers?
Zen, I never felt like I fit in with the influencer community. I never felt like I come from a background of fashion. I love fashion, but I always felt like it wasn't deep enough for me. And so I encourage other women or other men who want to become influencers to think about topics they're really passionate about. I love people. I love bringing people together. I'm obsessed with friendship. And I encourage other girls and guys to think about what is something genuinely that piques your curiosity in your life that you would talk about, that your friends, ask you for advice on, or, you FaceTime your mom about. You should go and create content about that. Yes, you can overlay it over a gorgeous outfit. You can make it aesthetically pleasing, but don't think about the aesthetic first. Think about the topic first.
Great advice. And with that, we are officially out of time. I wanted to thank you so much for coming on. You're so inspiring. I love what you do, and I can't wait to send lots and lots of traffic your way.
Thank you, Zen. Thank you so much for having me.
Guys, you definitely have to check her out. That was our Hydration with Heart segment brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut. That was the awesome Liv Schreiber. You could go directly on her website at livschreiber.com, or you can check her out at Hot and Social. Now, it's one thing to introduce a premium coconut water that tastes better than anything you've ever tried before. But it's truly something else to give back to the communities and people that truly need it. And that's why for every case of Once Upon a Coconut sold, they donate 10% to a charity each month. Specifically, one that stands out over and over again is the Down Syndrome Foundation of Florida. You could go directly to dsfflorida.org. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut, 100% pure coconut water. Imagine a drink that's nutrient-rich, powerfully refreshing, naturally sweet with no added sugars, not from concentrate, 0 additives, low in calories, absolutely no artificial flavors, and is so tasty that it will become your new favorite beverage. Enter Once Upon a Coconut, the absolute best tasting coconut water you will ever try. Available in 4 refreshing flavors: pure, chocolate, pineapple, and sparkling with energy. Do your taste buds a favor and pick up some today at onceuponacoconut.com.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by CO2 Lift. As we age, our skin loses moisture and elasticity, causing wrinkled skin. You can reverse this aging process with CO2 Lift. CO2 Lift utilizes the powerful benefits of carbon dioxide to lift, tighten, and regenerate your skin. This simple, painless at-home carboxytherapy treatment is scientifically proven to reverse the aging process. You will see reduction in wrinkles, increase in luminosity, and improve pigmentation, sagging, skin tone, and radiance. For more information or to order CO2 Lift, go to CO2Lift.com.
Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Up next in our Going Deep segment, we're featuring Dr. Calobrace, an internationally recognized leader in aesthetic breast surgery. He began the Beauty Through Science in New York conference in 2022, bringing together the world's greatest educators in surgical and non-surgical aesthetic medicine, setting a new standard in education. He co-chairs the aesthetic training program and breast emergency response work group committees. Today, he's joined by Dr. Kamakshi Zeidler, board certified plastic surgeon, founder of Aesthetx, the premier plastic surgery and dermatology practice in Silicon Valley. A leading authority and principal investigator for clinical trials, Dr. Z collaborates with companies to bring new techniques and technologies and innovative products to the field. She has authored many publications on novel technologies, procedures, and safety for aesthetic and reconstructive breast surgery, and her publication. Now, breast augmentation remains the most common surgical procedure for women. By contrast, surgery to remove implants increased by over 25%. That's an overall 50% increase in the last 4 years. Breast lifts increased by 33% in the last year alone, making fat grafting a very, very popular technique. Now, fat grafting is gaining ground as a minimally invasive breast reconstruction option. Plastic surgeons can reconstruct the breast with a fairly new technique called fat grafting, or fat injections, what they call. And a surgeon uses liposuction to take fat tissue from your thighs, your abdomen, or your buttocks and transfers the fat to your breast to reconstruct it. Now, this type of fat grafting breast reconstruction is also called autologous fat transfer and is usually performed under general anesthesia. Surgeons can also use fat injections to make minor aesthetic changes to a breast shape, balance, position, and especially after breast reconstruction surgery, this matters a great deal. This type of fat grafting is sometimes called lipofilling and has been around for much longer. Don't take my word for it. The experts at hand are joining us right now. They join me to chat plastic surgery, breast reconstruction, latest techniques, and trends. Joining me now are my superstars at hand, Dr. Calobrace and Dr. Z. Welcome to the show, my friends.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you. So great to be here.
Yes, and Dr. Zeidler, KZ as I call her, has been my friend for a very long time and a collaborator on many things, many meetings, and many publications. So we know each other very, very well.
I love it. You're like the dream team. It's like Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Boom, let's go.
We do find ourselves different places around the world often. Yes, we do.
Yes.
Well, you're
looking just as fabulous, of course.
Well, of course. So, Dr. Z, let's start with you. What are some emerging trends or technologies in breast surgery that you're currently seeing?
You touched on a lot of them. I think I look at it as the fashion movement in a way that we see, like, smaller breast sizes are becoming more popular, a chicer look. And I think with that, the option to choose aesthetic breast surgery that doesn't involve implants is definitely increasing. So you talked about fat transfer. This is something I've done for the past decade. It's the technologies that are making it more predictable are improving. And then I would say the adjunctive treatments to really enhance the overall results so that people can confidently feel comfortable about how beautiful their breast can look without the need for some of the long-term maintenance that implants require.
And I particularly love fat grafting because they include some of the more incredible advantages, like your body can't reject the transferred fat since it's your own tissue. And, we're seeing a lot of complications with breast implant illness arise and BII. Dr. Calabrese, talk to me. What are some of the emerging trends or technologies that you're advocating for?
Well, I think you're right on the right line of thought about this, because I call it implant hesitancy. There's a real implant hesitancy in our community and around the world. And so we find options that are other than that. So I published a very large article on breast lifting about 10 years ago. And 80% of my patients at that time, when they got a breast lift, got a breast implant. Now, probably only 40% of my patients who get a breast lift get implant. We do other things. We do breast lifts. We do what's called auto augmentation, taking their own tissue and moving it up, making it look like an implant. And of course, what you've talked about, fat grafting, which has just exploded both in breast reconstruction, aesthetic breast, but also in body contouring and in facial aesthetic surgery too. So fat grafting is where it's at right now.
And fat grafting, I have a quick question that it was not part of my original commentary here, but what if you don't have any fat to give? Or will you always find, even on the thinnest of patients?
Well,
That's a tough one.
guess who needs fat sometimes are those patients who don't really have much fat. They're very, very thin, and thus you really need fat and you can't hardly find it. It's surprising how often you can find some fat to help you out. But to do a complete reconstruction with just fat grafting, you would need a large volume of that from patients. And, so often we have that. If not, then you may choose to do a small implant and use some fat grafting, just a little bit you get to soften it. And so you don't have to use such a big implant. So we call that a composite breast augmentation, where we include a small implant and then also fat grafting.
Got it. Now, okay, so as surgeons, you're both surgeons here and you're amazing at what you do. Healing is extremely important. What techniques or products are you using to speed healing? I mean, what do you think about this new trend, carbon dioxide as an ingredient?
Yeah, I think this is actually fabulous. I mean, I think there's two components. One is prepping the skin and getting ready for recovery. So there's topicals. Elastin has a great family of things that enhance the healing process, decrease bruising, decrease edema. But I think when it comes to fat grafting in particular, you want every one of those fat cells to survive the fat transfer process. And fat cells are very sensitive. So anything that can nourish them through those first couple of days while they're gaining their blood supply is important. And I think, we've both jumped on this CO2 lift, the carbon dioxide topical therapy. I mean, I think historically injections have shown that it increases oxygen to the tissue. So it's a cool little thing in science that carbon dioxide bumps oxygen off the hemoglobin. So right at that level, you're getting an intense dose of oxygen as well as increased blood flow. So when patients have fat transferred to the face, particularly like patients fat transferred to the breast, or especially someone who's really thin, like we were talking about, and we're getting little bits of fat from all over the body. We want every drop to survive. And so applying this mask immediately after surgery and having patients do it the day after, the second, third day, during that critical phase of cells surviving, I think that we're seeing that this really enhances the overall take of fat and the quality of the results.
Yeah, and I do think that, like KZ said, we are also developing systems that we can use to process the fat that actually help to retain better. Classically, patients were told about half of your fat will go away. And today, by the way we procure, process, and place the fat, we actually can get that number up to more like 80% for that. And I'm doing a clinical trial, a multi-site clinical trial that's a 1-year trial to really look at retention of fat over time. And so there's a few systems like that. So I think that's also important too. How we handle the fat, what we do in the operating room, how we place the fat to get the best survival is really important.
That's very important. And back to what Casey was just saying, when you look at a non-invasive product like CO2, it immediately diffuses at the cutaneous and muscular microcirculatory levels, resulting in higher tissue oxygenation, to her point, in neoangiogenesis. And the blood vessels, without a doubt, will widen. This is just science, increasing the transport of oxygen body tissues for cellular regeneration and anti-inflammatory effects. I have personally tried this procedure, carbon dioxide therapy. It has many proprietary uses, whether it's on the face or vaginal rejuvenation or the penile rejuvenation. But yes, I mean, this is all, it comes down to science. Now, Dr. C, using fat for surgery is more, like we've been saying, more popular now than ever these days. But what are some of the more common risks involved, and what do you rely on or use to mitigate and alleviate some of the downfalls?
Yeah, I was just talking to a couple of patients yesterday, and I said the biggest risk really is that, you don't have enough of a result. I mean, that's the biggest downside. And so having clear expectations. But I think outside of that, the risk of getting a cyst or like a little lump, what we call fat necrosis, where some of the fat cells didn't survive. So they shrivel up and die and either liquefy or form a little scar ball. And having these things can be concerning. We've talked about breast cancer, and it's not that it increases the risk of breast cancer, but if you find a spot in your breast, it leads to a lot of concern. And now you need a mammogram, need an ultrasound, and do you need a biopsy? Thankfully, these are very, very rare. And like Dr. Calabrace was talking about, processing the fat, doing a gentle liposuction, cleaning the fat, doing a very careful injection technique where it's like planting seeds. So little drops of cells are spread into the tissue like a sponge filling up with water. This really decreases the risk of any problems. And so we see very few of them. And then even research has shown, compared to a breast reduction or a breast lift, the changes that you see on a mammogram are much less with fat grafting than you would see with a breast reduction or a breast lift. So in general, the changes you see in the breast are minimal. So I think those risks are minimal. And the final thing is that you cannot forget about the rest of the body. I mean, of course, you can liposuction everything and get fat, but are you making the rest of the body more beautiful and making sure that you're not damaged? So you really need to think about how the fat is removed in such a way that you're enhancing the body and not sacrificing the rest of the body just to create beautiful breasts.
Dr. Calabrace, I know that you touched on this a little bit earlier, but the way we learn how to prevent, diagnose, and treat illness is via clinical research. Many different elements of scientific investigation are involved. Of course, it involves human participants and helps translate basic research done in labs into new treatments and information to benefit the patients. But what is your expectation as a provider on clinical research and peer-to-peer education? And how important are journals, medical research, and studies to you?
Well, they're everything. They're everything to me.
Everything.
For me, a person who's published textbooks and articles galore over the years, and published many of the FDA trials. There's a lot of opinions, but in that makes it an managing anecdotally medicine is an impossible task, because you're going to take every social trend and try to follow it and learn from your patients. But the truth is, your patients depend upon you to try to decipher what is a thought or a belief from what's actually true. But often, as a clinician, we don't even know the truth. We're not sure yet. The only way we can get to that truth is through clinical trials that have controls, so we can actually understand what we're looking at and get some results. They are vital. And I hope patients, even in light, you mentioned breast implant illness, in light of things such as that, where we don't know enough yet, right? There's a lot of opinions that fill in the space, but those opinions aren't actually necessarily true, or maybe they are completely true. But until we have good science and good research, we are not going to know. And then me and KZ are left managing patients in the midst of it before we have good science. So all we can do is do the best we can do during that time, plus continue to work to provide the science so we have better answers.
Knowledge is power, and
Yes.
I absolutely love that as surgeons and as taking pride of the information that you are using to then in turn give the best service to your patients and really impact lives, that you are putting in the time and effort and doing the research and putting your expertise down on paper anecdotally, which is so extremely important. That's one of the reasons why I would choose as a woman to come to your practice, because you are so well versed and educated, the two of you, on these, on the forefront and at the forefront of education. Now, we have 2 minutes left, and the first question to KZ, Dr. Z. How important is skin health before you operate? And then I have Dr. Calabrace as the last question. I want to talk about beauty through science. So Dr. Z, you go first.
Yeah, skin health. Well, I'm actually a super huge fan of skin health, and having a dermatologist partner in my practice really helped me come to this full circle understanding. And so when patients come to me, whether it's a minor procedure, just looking at improving their skin, it's something non-invasive like toxins and fillers, or a major surgery like facelift, the skin is the canvas. It's your first impression. And not only does great skin enhance the results, but it also prepping the skin so that it's really healthy to recover well from any invasive treatment is really meaningful. And so with that, just like Dr. Calabrace was talking about, the science is important. There's so much skincare out there, right? How do we know something is really going to make a difference? And so having the research to show that it really does gives me a lot of confidence in recommending products that we do.
Research. It's all about the research. Okay, so Dr. Calabrace, tell the audience about beauty through science. What is it? How did you, what was the inspiration behind this? How did the beautiful Dr. Z get involved? And what is the role of a key opinion, so to speak? What inspired the name Beauty Through Science?
Well, beauty through science is the idea we've just been talking about, that we're going to direct our treatment of beauty not doing it anecdotally, but through science, and let's get the science. And so bringing surgeons together and bringing dermatologists together and bringing all the specialties together to have a joint meeting. It was the inception of an idea of Per Hedén out of Stockholm, Sweden, many years ago, probably 20 years ago. And then I became faculty, then KZ became faculty, and then I brought that with Per to the United States, and it's a New York meeting. It's December 1st through 3rd this year. It's dermatologists, nurse practitioners, PAs, plastic surgeons, everybody for 2 tracks of education. And it's trying to bring the best educators in the world, the best scientists in the world who can bring science and knowledge, especially like fat grafting. It's going to be all over our program talking about it and really giving best techniques, best ways to manage fat, et cetera. So we invite everybody to come to bts-newyork.com, and you can sign up and register for a great meeting. We're right there in New York with all the dermatologists and plastic surgeons. It's a big miss not to come and hear what's said. It's very easy for everybody in the New York region.
I will be there, and you have made me a huge fan, not only of your practice, but of listening to both of you speak. And I thank you for coming on. We are officially out of time, my dear friends, but you guys are incredible. Thank you for being my experts today.
Thank you.
Guys, that was our Going Deep segment brought to you by CO2 Lift. You definitely have to check out the incredible Dr. Calobrace. You can go to calospa.com and do check out the fabulous Dr. Zeidler at aesthetx.com, or you can check her out directly on the gram at Aesthetx MD or Dr. Zeidler. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by CO2 Lift. As we age, our skin loses moisture and elasticity, causing wrinkled skin. You can reverse this aging process with CO2 Lift. CO2 Lift utilizes the powerful benefits of carbon dioxide to lift, tighten, and regenerate your skin. This simple, painless at-home carboxytherapy treatment is scientifically proven to reverse the aging process. You will see reduction in wrinkles, increase luminosity, and improve pigmentation, sagging, skin tone, and radiance. For more information or to order CO2 Lift, go to co2lift.com.
Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Joining me next in America's favorite pharmacist segment, brought to you by Mary Ruth's Organics, we're joined by our newest and weekly contributor, pharmaceutical influencer, Phil Cowley. Phil is a pharmacist that goes by the handle Phil's My Pharmacist with over 2 million followers throughout social media. He has over 20 years of experience, owns and runs Cache Valley Pharmacy in Logan, Utah. He's passionate about educating people on how to make informed decisions about their health and well-being. He's known for his ability to make even the most complex medical information accessible and entertaining. Today, he joins me to share his thoughts on Ozempic and Mounjaro manufacturers testing weight loss shots for kids as young as 6 years old who suffer from obesity. Pharmaceutical company Eli Lilly signaled its plans to start clinical trials with Mounjaro for kids ages 6 to 11. Novo Nordisk, the company that makes Ozempic, reported that it's in phase 3 of testing Saxenda, a version of its drug for kids ages as young as 6 to 12 years old. Now, keep in mind that the rates of obesity for children in the US have tripled since the 1980s, affecting close to 15 million children nationwide. This is nearly 1 in 5 kids, data directly confirmed by the CDC. I worry about children because of their developing bodies. Unfortunately, most of these studies are shorter term. And as a mom, I will always advocate for longer term studies to convince me of drug safety. The first line of treatment should be to focus on changing lifestyle and behavior. And I know for a fact that every physician and parent should want to take the safer route. Welcoming now to the show, in America's favorite pharmacist segment, is our regular contributor, pharmaceutical influencer, Phil Cowley, chatting child obesity and his thoughts on, is Ozempic safe for kids? Welcome to the show, superstar.
Hey, thank you, Zen. This is awesome to be here. I'm super excited. This is a great topic, too.
Great topic, trending. Everyone is weighing in with an opinion on this. So we've all heard that Eli Lilly is planning clinical trials with Mounjaro for kids age 6 to 11, Phil, and Novo Nordisk is in phase 3 now, as I said, of testing Saxenda, the version of Ozempic for children age 6 to 12. Given your expertise, what are your initial thoughts on this development?
I think we're going to have to come up with a new name for this eating disorder that we're giving these kids, because right now they lose 17% of their weight in the first year. They start feeling better, but they regain 2/3 of that weight back. So what happens to a child when they lose that much weight and then automatically rebound it? So my first thoughts are absolutely that these children have obesity issues, that we need to treat the obesity, but kids have not and never have been small adults. They have to be treated completely different, and getting them to lose weight that they're inevitably going to gain back, or they have to be stuck on these shots for the rest of their life, is not a good path.
Yes, and to your point, a team of clinicians, exercise scientists, pharmaceutical scholars, ethicists, and even behavioral experts said in their commentary that glucagon like peptide 1 receptor agonists, which we're talking about GLP-1, may be dangerous for children. And this is a direct warning from researchers at University of California. Treating childhood obesity and type 2 diabetes with these injected medications may have unintended and adverse consequences in pediatric patients. And this is coming directly from the scholars. So you are right on the money when with that commentary, Phil.
Yeah, they say will. There's no doubt in their mind. You also have to consider that the studies are being done right now. There was one that had 83 kids enrolled in it and one less than 100. And they're being monitored by not just clinicians that work with the drug, they're also being monitored by their pediatrician. They've been given coaches to help them lose weight, and they have nutritional support with the nutritionist. Once we approve this through the FDA, kids that are going to be get it will not have that team behind them. I mean, fentanyl wasn't addictive when it was inside the clinical setting and they had doctors on them 24/7. What happens when this gets into the general public and they hand it out with no support at all for these kids?
You're right. So let's go back to the natural approaches. I mean, of course, the direct correlation is your child's gut health, right? It is closely linked to their physical growth and development, as well as the function of their nervous system, their immune system, and metabolism. And that's important. So important to start those probiotics early. I say I've been using Mary Ruth probiotic for my 8-year-old daughter daily and have been doing so for the last 6 years. It's a tremendous difference in her overall health. So I always will advocate for that natural way. But when you go back to this Ozempic conversation and debate, could this new class of medication, Phil, in fact benefit children with morbid obesity and type 2 diabetes? I mean, what are your thoughts on the first line of treatment for childhood obesity?
The first line treatment is metformin, and metformin fails about 1 out of 4 times. Metformin is the very first thing they try, and it's the only other one that has good clinical studies. They haven't even studied anything else. They've got metformin, they've got a few other GLP-1 type drugs, and then after that, they go to insulin. So the treatment modalities for kids are very limited. And so having a new treatment for kids would be excellent. And I do think that in a true type 2 diabetic situation in which all the other steps, you've got yourself a clinician that is really on top of it. They get to check all their hormones, make sure that they don't have any chance of thyroid. I mean, GLP-1 drugs cause thyroid cancers, and they have good clinical help. There is a sure place for GLP-1 in those kids that truly have type 2 diabetes. The concern is, just like happened in the adults, what happens when they approve it and they just start giving it to kids that are obese and not those that have type 2 diabetes? That's where the real concern will come in.
Yeah, and my major concern, to your point, and that's such a valid concern of yours, but even on top of that is the unbalanced and inappropriate reduction in calories or energy intake associated with these weight loss drugs. Like, unlike in adults, children and adolescents need energy and sufficient calories, not only for physical activity, but for growth and development. And the balance of a proper diet plus movement influences a child's growth and health across their lifespan. And any changes in that balance can have negative consequences much later in life. So optimal diet and exercise helps build bones during childhood. For example, this lessens risks of osteoporosis and bone fractures later in life. And so when you're looking at these drugs that are just quick fixes, all of this that I just talked about becomes obsolete. And on that note, are there ways, Phil, that parents can help optimize our kids' digestive tract without having to override their little systems? I mean, is there a way to activate and naturally produce the Ozempic effect?
The cool thing about metformin is it affects the GI flora, the bacteria in the stomach, 300 times more than it does our own cells. It's very well documented that metformin, which is the first line treatment, helps our cells in our stomach, the bacteria in our stomach, do their jobs better. And that ends up feeding like the cell walls. And in that cell wall, especially the first 10 inches of the small intestine, that's where you find those L cells, the only cells in our body that produce naturally GLP-1. So when you start to consider that kids with diabetes have celiac disease at almost a 10 times higher rate, and the bacteria is where the metformin works. If you were to add the right kind of a bacteria, so inside the Mary Ruth probiotic, they use this B subtilis, and it's not a subtle bacteria because what it does is it is very, very good at breaking down long chain fatty acids and making them small. And those small chain fatty acids feed those L cells. So with the right bacteria in there, not only are we protecting the gut wall, reducing inflammation, but we're also feeding the cells in our bodies that want to produce the GLP-1 instead of artificially overrunning it, giving them shots. It's like we're preparing to get the wheelchair before they've even put on their seatbelt because there's no car crash yet.
It's mind-boggling to me that they're pushing this type of heavy drug on children, because even the CDC shows kids may have gained weight twice as fast during the pandemic. Fine, I get that. And earlier this year, the American Academy of Pediatrics came out with a new guidance that includes medication and surgery as suggestions for patients 12 and up suffering from obesity. These weight loss shots can cost up to $1,500 and may not be covered by insurance. I mean, the studies are scheduled to last a few years, but this is so premature. And the fact that we're trying to cure childhood obesity with this type of band-aid is it's very scary to me, because now this brings us into what you've been talking about all along, Phil: overuse. We all know with big pharma comes the potential risk of overuse and dependency, and the potential for abuse of these medications by kids and teens, to your point, with eating disorders and those involved. Think about that: competitive sports like wrestling, martial arts, gymnastics, and ballet could be inevitable. I mean, the benefits of long-term use in youth need to be weighed against cost and the impact on quality of life. I say a careful study is definitely needed. What are your thoughts?
I think that there's a whole room of drug reps someplace partying over the idea that they can sell this so often. I mean, these are the same individuals. The Novo people took the prices of insulin, started out at $24 until the government got in and said, we can't have people dying without their insulin. They jacked that price clear up to $300. These are the people who we're trusting our children with. Big Pharma's never been trusted to do anything but to make money. And they haven't looked at the long-term studies. What they're looking at is a new market share. And so I would absolutely say if we treat little kids like they're adults, we're going to end up having lifelong problems with these children. We have to have a better study, a longer study. We even need a longer study with adults. What happens if we burn out our own L cells and we never produce any of our own natural GLP-1? You start your kid at 8 on a shot, and now here they are 40, 50, 60 every week having to have it. And the efficacy will drop over time. So you'll have to keep raising doses, which keeps raising prices, which keeps making money for Big Pharma. So I guess if that's what you want to do, this is a great way to go. Is that, if you go this mechanism, it's a great mechanism to go, is to make them a lot more money. I don't trust Big Pharma, and I don't trust the study, because 83 kids for a year and a half, that doesn't tell us anything.
83 kids. Wow. And they have the nerve to come up with this as a cure-all. I mean, pediatric obesity has become an epidemic because of the lack of places for kids to play and exercise safely. And the wide availability of cheap, high-calorie fast foods, of course, compounds this. But this epidemic has specifically hit underrepresented minorities, especially hard. And as drug manufacturers develop oral forms of the medication, this may reduce oversight and definitely lead to abuse. It's a setup for failure, especially for those communities.
Yeah, it's highly concentrated in female patients, girls by the age of 12 up in lower socioeconomic standings, and in ethnicities that are underserved and underprivileged. So if you start giving them this without any support, it's only going to lead to longer term problems. We have to be able to support them having healthy lifestyles, give them good foods to eat, give them places to go, support them in another way. And I would really think that when you're spending $20,000 a year on a medication, I think the states could find a better way to treat that money so these kids have a real shot at their future.
Right. That's the humanity in you speaking. But Big Pharma isn't about seeing things like that. I mean, to your point, News about GLP-1 RA agonists has infiltrated social media outlets. It's being spoken about by celebrities, fashion models, and influencers. So it's reasonable to assume that as access becomes easier, more children will engage in unsupervised use of this GLP-1 RA agonist in order to facilitate reaching societal beauty standards. And I think it's headed all in the wrong direction.
Well, they're already ordering all the knockoffs that can come out of China without a problem, and they're not really being regulated on the way in. And so now they don't even really know what they're using, but it's already shown that the kids are the ones that are ordering all the knockoffs out of China. So you've got young kids already using it with a product that's not regulated, and we're talking about it as if it's a savior. Every headline is, this is game changer, it's fixing everything. They've spent over $500 million advertising in the last 9 months.
Wow.
So kids are now being told to do this. So they're ordering this stuff off of China, and we don't even know what will happen to them. And there's not really any regulation on these knockoffs at all.
So all of this infuriates me as a mom. Of course, you as a dad and a pharmacist as well. But right now, there's one particular study, and I think we talked about it together in 2017 that shows kids grow faster with vitamins containing the proper level of trace minerals, especially zinc. So I know that we're big proponents here and big fans of Mary Ruth's supplements. Talk to me about this.
So even with kids that are overeating and obese, we find that their trace minerals and their zinc levels, their magnesium and their manganese levels are too low. And that has a lot to do with gut inflammation. When you take a good formulated vitamin, it can't just be one off the shelf, one that covers all of the stuff that they need. Most pediatric vitamins only carry about 40% of the trace minerals and vitamins. They actually saw in that 6-month period, they actually saw the kids grow almost at twice of a rate as the kids who didn't take it, which tells us even when a kid is obese, they could be missing something inside their diet, especially kids like mine that I had to fight to eat anything but chicken nuggets every meal. I just had to fight them. And so when you're looking at a child, a simple, just get a vitamin and a probiotic, and let's see if we can make these kids happy and healthy before we throw a $1,200 shot at them, maybe a better mechanism.
All right. Bottom line, Phil, would you give this to your child?
If my child was borderline going on insulin, I would have to reconsider it. But that would be the only time I'd even consider it.
Right. Well, it was a pleasure chatting today. Thank you so much for your insight. I had so much fun covering this with you. And a big shout out to Mary Ruth Organics out there. Thank you so much, Phil.
Thank you.
The Food and Drug Administration and health regulators in Europe have only approved GLP-1 receptor agonists for use in people ages 12 and up. That speaks volumes. According to the U.S. Center for Disease Control and Prevention, nearly 1 in 5 children aged 6 and up do suffer from obesity. Now, Novo Nordisk is expected to report that sales of Ozempic generated $3.5 billion in revenue in the third quarter of this year alone. Lots of money involved in big pharma. That was America's favorite pharmacist, Phil Calley, pharmaceutical influencer. The segment was brought to you by Mary Ruth's Organics. Phil is the founder of Cache Valley Pharmacy in Logan, Utah. You can definitely check him out on the gram at Phil's My Pharmacist and head to maryruthorganics.com or check them out on the gram at Mary Ruth Organics. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Caldwell Soames Incorporated, investing globally in transformative businesses like Original Digital Corporation, or ODC. ODC develops advanced consumer and commercial fintech solutions such as OG Pay, which will transform the way you manage your money. From sending and receiving money globally for free, paying for goods and services in person and online, pay bills, buy and sell digital currencies, all while earning interest. OG Pay is easy to set up, FDIC insured, and your information is secured. Check out ogpay.com.
Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Up next in our Millennial Mom segment brought to you by ogpay.com. Today we're featuring Lisa Harris, founder of OWL. That's Organize with Lisa. Organize with Lisa was born from her lifelong love affair with neatness and order. Throughout her career with Macy's and Charles Schwab, Lisa learned customer service skills and project management techniques essential to a professional organizer. Lisa has built a business centered on decluttering, organizing, kindness and compassion that helps people solve their organizational challenges. Organizing is difficult and can be a stressful, time consuming project. It's also an essential skill that can increase your physical and emotional health. Chances are, though, that during an organizing project, you made a few mistakes. And mistakes can be anything, such as misjudging the amount of storage space you need, or overlooking important details, implementing systems that don't work optimally for your home's needs. And while it's natural to feel disappointed or frustrated when mistakes occur, it's also important to recognize them as valuable learning opportunities rather than failures. And when you are decluttering and reorganizing a room, all of that can easily happen. Welcoming now to the show is my expert at hand, Lisa Harris, to walk us through it all. She joins me today to chat tips and tricks for converting a child's play area from toddler to tween. Welcome to the show, superstar.
Thank you, Zen. So good to be here.
Okay, so let's just jump right into this. So you have been working with my home and my child's play area for quite some time now. You know the area and you know the house. Uh, we'll get to that in just a little bit. But at first, can you tell the audience what inspired your lifelong love for neatness and order, and how did it lead to the creation of your professional organizing business?
You know, when I get asked this question, I always just say this has been in my DNA my entire life. I have, as a child, I would dump out drawers in my room, my mother's room, the kitchen. I would dump them out. I would reorganize them. I would dump them out again and reorganize them. There is something about an organized, orderly space that is so calm and peaceful to me. So almost 7 years ago now, I thought I'm going to bring this skill and love that I have to as many people as I can. And that's when Organize with Lisa was born in May of 2017.
So you have the moniker Owl, and I know that that is something that's near and dear to your heart. It's the cutest design, and I love it. And I love that you are so passionate about the families that you help. So when it comes to transitioning a child's play area from a toddler to a tween, as we have been doing for Alexa's room, what are the most important considerations in terms of organization and design?
Yeah, so it's really important that this is a space that reflects them and their personality, and a space that fosters creativity, productivity, and ultimately, it's a space that they want to be in and that they love being in.
And I always say, do not overcomplicate. So a common home organizing mistake is overcomplicating a project. And this could be, a filing system with hundreds of folders for every individual bill, a mudroom with dozens of tiny shoe cubbies, or a drawer with too many compartments. I say the simpler you can make your organizing system, the easier it will be to maintain. And I think you would agree.
100%.
Now, could you provide some general tips for optimizing storage and organization in a child's play space that can evolve with the child's age?
Sure. So I think it's really it's important. Let's repurpose the storage that you have, and then add in as needed. So like what we did in Alexa's playroom, we repurposed her cubbies, right? When I first walked in there, those cubbies had little girl toys, and we repurposed those and hung them on the wall, which looks amazing. And now it's her library, right? So we transitioned from little girl to bigger girl. It's her library. It has some decorative items in it. The other thing that's really important is to create zones, right? So we have a section for her Legos. We don't have Legos in 4 different places of the room, right? And we have an arts and crafts zone. We have an American Girl zone, right? So the flow of the room is really important. It makes it much less distracting, and just, they don't realize it, but it's important to have that flow be working for you.
Now, how do you balance, and you did a great job at this, the practicality of organization with the needs and desires of children during this transition?
Yeah, I think it's so important to get kids into good, healthy habits, right? So that means, getting into a new habit, it's not always fun, but once you're in it, it just feels natural, and it feels kind of weird to not do it. So getting kids in the habit of being accountable for putting their things away, right? And as moms, I think it's important that we model this behavior for them, right? So they see it all around them. We're not only teaching them the habit, but we're doing it too.
It's extremely important. Now, people are often reluctant to start a home organizing project because they're worried it will take a huge amount of time. I was one of those people. So I suggest breaking the project up into small daily or weekend pieces. So every night after dinner, set your kitchen timer for 15 minutes and pick one small spot to clean out or organize. Stop when the timer goes off, or if you feel energized, do another 15 minutes before stopping for the evening. And it's also important to set an end date for your project. Don't leave your organizing project open ended. This sets everyone up for failure. Now, in your experience, Lisa, what are some common mistakes that parents make when reorganizing a child's play area, and how can they avoid them?
Yeah, so two mistakes come to mind. One is overbuying, and the second is buying bins before you start the project, right? That's the fun part. Buying pretty, colorful bins, that's fun. But you have to do the declutter and the purge first, because after a big purge, you probably won't need as many bins, and you may very likely need different bins. I always say that a storage system for 50 items looks very different than one that has 100 items in it. So as excited as you may be to buy those products, wait for the declutter to happen first.
Great points. And don't neglect categories, right? I learned this. Categorizing is key. Unfortunately, many people forget to do it. So I say to categorize effectively, start by identifying broad categories that make sense for your belongings, such as clothing, kitchenware, or electronics. Next, take the time to sort through each one of those and create subcategories based on similarities or frequency of use. By quote unquote categorizing your belongings, you'll create a systematic and efficient organizational system that saves you time and reduces clutter. And I learned this by watching you, Lisa. You've been in my home doing this for the last couple of weeks, and I've picked up on some of your tricks. Now, what are some essential organizing tools or even products that parents should consider when creating a versatile play area?
I love shallow organizing products. Why? As children and tweens and even teens, when they see a big toy box, say, they are a big bin, you're only looking at the top layer, right? They don't see what's underneath that. So when you purchase shallow bins, you can see almost everything that's in there. So my goal when I organize any space, particularly a playroom, is that when you open up a door, a drawer, a cabinet, you can see everything you have.
Of course, putting something, an item, a toy within the visual context of your child, which you'll be able to grab and reach, to your point, makes their life so much easier and keeps the frustrations low. Now, what should parents do with all these toys and items that their child has outgrown during this transition?
Yes, donate. I am so passionate about donating. When my kids were, your daughter's age, I made them a big part of that process. I explained to them that there's a lot of children out there that are less fortunate, and they would love to have your things. And I told them, you pick 10 things and you pick 10 things. And I brought them and we bagged them up and we brought them to the donation facility, and they were a part of the process and they understood. The more you do that and get them involved, they get it. And then in time, they come to you and say, can we donate this to, the boys and girls that don't have as much as me? So yes, donate. And especially, this is a great time of year to declutter with the holidays coming up, right? I think that's very motivating to your kids. Like, let's get the stuff out that you don't use, love, want, need anymore. So, with the holidays coming, we have more stuff coming in. and you want to make room for that new stuff coming in.
I couldn't agree more. Now, what are some essential organizing tools or even products that parents should consider when creating a versatile play area for their children outside of just bins? Can you direct us into a more broad area? If we walk into the Container Store or into one of those organizational places, what's your favorite section? What keeps you organized?
Yeah, love that. So I have a lot of go-to products. Those would be clear bins, right? They make them in all shapes, sizes, dimensions for any space in your house. I love drawer and shelf dividers. They keep things nice and orderly and kind of in compartments. I am a big fan of labeling. So especially for Alexa's age, who can read now, we label those bins. And I do this a lot in the kitchen, in a master closet. It helps you when you're going to look for something, where is this? And you see it's right there. And then even more importantly, you know where to put it back. So those are probably my three biggest go-to products.
And those are great products. I have them everywhere in my house. All my bins are labeled. I have shallow bins because of you. You practice what you preach. Now, are there any key organizational principles that parents can apply to help maintain? So we're talking about maintaining the organization of the play area as their child continues to grow and change their interests.
Yeah, I go back to the habits, getting into those healthy habits. I have what I call Take 5 that I do teach my teenage population and young adults, and even myself. Take 5 minutes at the end of every day, clean up what you didn't get to put away, right? We're all busy, right? Kids are so busy today. 5 minutes at the end of the day, clear your countertops, clear your spaces, put your backpack together for the next morning, right? So when you wake up the next morning, you hit the ground running. On Sunday, I do a Sunday sort. Same thing, whatever mail I didn't get to that week, right? And the kids, same thing, clean out their folders, go through their school folders, projects, put whatever you want to keep in a memorabilia bin, a keepsake bin.
You have it all down packed, even to the last detail. You are really, really good at what you do for a reason. And I can't thank you enough for converting Alexa's Playroom from toddler to tween effectively and efficiently in less than a few weeks. Thank you so much, Lisa.
Thank you. Such a pleasure.
That was our Millennial Mom segment brought to you by OGPay.com. And that was the incredible Lisa Harris, founder of OWL. That's Organize with Lisa. You can check her out directly on the gram at Organize with Lisa, or head directly to her website at organizewithlisa.com. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Caldwell Soames Incorporated, investing globally in transformative businesses like Original Digital Corporation, or ODC. ODC develops advanced consumer and commercial fintech solutions such as OGPay, which will transform the way you manage your money. From sending and receiving money globally for free, paying for goods and services in person and online, pay bills, buy and sell digital currencies, all while earning interest. OGPay is easy to set up, FDIC insured, and your information is secured. Check out OGPay.com.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Your Home TV.
Hi, this is Kathy Ireland here on A Moment of Zen, brought to you by Your Home TV. We've developed an all-inclusive subscription-free network that you're going to love, whether it's financial freedom, fashion, beauty, health and wellness, wonderful weddings, travel and culture, cooking, entertainment, and short-form documentaries, programming for everyone. Classic films and new shows, including Kathy Ireland Presents American Dreams. We've developed this network just for you. Please check out yourhometv.com.
Tune in to A Moment of Zen, Saturday nights from 9 to 10 p.m. on WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio.
Well, that's a wrap, my dear friends. Remember to join me right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, every Saturday night from 9 to 10 p.m. Or you could go to 710WOR.iHeart.com/A Moment of Zen. Also remember that we're now live on Traverse TV Sundays at 1 p.m. Eastern, YouTube Sundays at 2 p.m. Eastern. Of course, all episodes of A Moment of Zen are uploaded on Kathy Ireland's Your Home TV streaming platform. You could head directly to our channel at mox.yourhometv.com. Thank you for listening to A Moment of Zen. It's been an absolute pleasure being your host. Thanks again to all of our sponsors that continue to make this show possible. And remember that happiness is the only thing that multiplies when you share it. A big shout out to our newest segment, America's Favorite Pharmacist, brought to you by Mary Ruth Organics and Phil Cowley. We'll be right back after this.